Nico, Robin, and Usopp discover the Tontatta Kingdom in my review of One Piece, episode 641. If you ever wanted to know what it was like to walk through Nico Robin's cavernous cleavage, you're going to find out in this week's episode because our heroes have discovered the legendary Tontatta Kingdom right underneath Greenbit. It's this little magical kingdom filled with these tiny little creatures. They're basically a composite of the Ewoks and the Smurfs with a little bit of the Toads from Super Mario Bros. And they also happen to be incredibly fickle. One moment they want to kill you and stick your head on a pike, and the next minute they want to invite you over for tea and cookies. They're very strange characters, and only a few of them have seemed like they're going to be very important to this arc. But I'm really interested to see how things are going to go here. But this episode was definitely sort of an homage to Gulliver's Travel, the whole scene with Nico Robin being stitched to the ground and all the tiny people walking around and going through her clothing. It's both hilarious and fan servicey at the same time. But in this week's episode, they do introduce this one guy by the name of Leo, and apparently he may or may not have a devil fruit. He says he has stitch powers, which he uses to actually sew Nico Robin to the ground. I don't know if he literally just sewed her or he literally has a devil fruit, but he does have this needle, so I'm guessing maybe it's not a devil fruit. But there's also the leader of the group. His name is Gancho. He's just a goofy old man who's just as fickle as the rest of them. And there is this one funny scene where there's this one who is completely convinced by one of Usopp's stories, which they do not show us. It's completely off-screen. But the little guy mentions that Usopp claimed that he was the legendary hero, and I just love Nico Robin's reaction to this. It's pretty goofy. Aside from what's going on Munchkin Island, there's a lot of other little subplots that are getting ready to start. C-Block is getting ready to fight. All of the fighters are making their way into the arena, and Don Chinchou actually has this little interaction with the Funk Brothers, which I can't wait to see what they're going to do. I'm mostly intrigued by the sound of their name. I just think it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, what can you infer from what the Funk Brothers are going to do? But the other subplot I really liked is there's the character of Rebecca, the Gladiator girl. She's a character who obviously I think is going to be very important, and she has a connection with this toy soldier guy who's hanging out with Frankie. And there's a scene where she actually sees him running with Frankie, and they have a little talk for a second. And the toy soldier does not want Rebecca in this tournament. I'm not sure what this whole connection is. He basically is sort of like the father figure for Rebecca, and that's probably who he is. He's probably Rebecca's father. But Rebecca also has this sort of strange connection with the legendary warrior Kyros. So there's some connection here, I'm pretty damn sure of it. But they sort of just leave it right there. But the other awesome thing this week is definitely Sanjay and Violets. They go back to them, and Violet actually ends up working with Sanjay now. She decides she's going to defy Doflamingo, and she has another set of abilities. One, which is absolutely ridiculous. So, in last week's episode, she displayed she had the Glare fruit, and she has another subset of abilities that go along with that. Apparently, she can summon giant whales and shoot them from her eyes. Pretty damn awesome, and pretty weird even by One Piece standards, but it's pretty damn effective. I mean, would you not want to shoot whales from your eyes? I mean, think about how awesome that would be in any regular day situation. The only problem is you're definitely going to get caught because, I mean, you know, who else can shoot giant, whales from their eyeballs? But whatever. The point is, she also has this other ability where she allows Sanjay to see into her mind, to let him know that Doflamingo is getting ready to start this big attack and that this has all been a big Admiral Akbar trap. And that's at the end of the episode when you have Sanjay giving Law a call, and then we get that classic to be continued screen, which just pisses you off because you want to see what's going to happen next. But it's also very effective because I cannot wait to see next week's episode. So, pretty decent episode right here. Definitely wasn't the best in the world, you know, but it's definitely moving the story along, and I like the fact that there's a lot of other little stories going on with all the different members of the Straw Hat Pirates. There's still a few members they're, ignoring a little bit, but that's only because there's so many characters in One Piece. They still haven't gone back to the Straw Hat ship. I want to know what's going on with them, because they're still, like, there was that scene where they open the door, and all of a sudden there's that weird, like, trippy world, and they never got back to that, and it's really, really strange, and I'm guessing they're hinting at that a little bit in the actual opening, but I really wouldn't know because I don't read the manga series, I'm just watching the anime. All I know is this was a pretty fun episode with a lot of goofy fan service from Robin. The Tontatta tribe seems like they're going to be pretty interesting. I don't know if they're going to get pretty annoying. I don't know how important they're going to be to the overall story. I imagine there's going to be like a big war with these guys going up against Doflamingo's kingdom, biting a lot of heels and throwing a lot of little toothpick-styled spears. I really can't predict where that's going to go, and I can't wait to see how Usopp has been influencing them, because I love when he tells his ridiculous-ass stories. But otherwise, like I said, this was still sort of an average episode. It had sort of a slow pace, but for the most part, it was still good because there were a lot of different things going on, so it showed you how big this arc is going to be. So I am going to give this week's episode a 7 out of 10. I still think it's pretty good, and you should check it out if you are following the series. But it's definitely not perfect, and it's definitely not the most incredibly exciting episode of One Piece. But I still think it's definitely worth your time if you're a fan of the show. So check this one out, guys. So you guys heard my thoughts about this week's episode, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about One Piece. You can tell me about your favorite moments. Did you think this episode kind of sucked? Do you have any predictions for the rest of the Dressrosa arc? Remember, guys, before you leave today, make sure to hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It's really easy to do. It helps out these videos. You guys have heard this probably a million times now, but it really does help. I'm not even joking. And if you want to see all of our latest content as it is released, make sure and subscribe to the channel. It also helps us out tremendously. You can also find us on that newfangled Twitter and Facebook. I'll put links to those in the description box below. So, I'll see you next time, guys. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.